Tom Callahan was 22 years old. He had grown up in South Boston watching his father come home smelling of smoke. He had enlisted at 19. By now, the Army felt more like home than home did. Tonight was different. Tonight was June 5th, 1944. The 101st Airborne Division had been briefed 3 times. They knew the maps better than their own neighborhood. The objective was simple on paper. Jump into Normandy, secure the causeways, hold until the beach troops arrived. Simple on paper. Corporal Eddie Harris had been in the division since North Africa. He didn't talk about North Africa. Tom had known Harris for 8 months. He trusted him more than anyone alive. That evening, they ate together in the mess hall. Neither of them ate much. Tom wrote a letter to his father. He kept it short. He didn't know what to say that wasn't either too much or not enough. At dusk, the C-47s were lined up on the grass field like dark birds waiting. The crew chiefs checked everything twice, then checked it again. Tom sat on the grass beside the aircraft and looked at the sky. England in June. Still light at 9 o'clock. Harris sat down beside him. "You ready?" Tom said, "No." Harris said, "Good, neither am I." They geared up at 2100. The parachutes alone weighed 60 pounds. Rifles, grenades, ammunition, rations, medical kit. Everything a man might need to survive behind enemy lines. The briefing officer said they would land in fields south of Saint-Mère-Église. It was a good drop zone. Tom had been to Saint-Mère-Église on the map so many times, he could see it with his eyes closed. Engines started at 2200. The sound filled the whole airfield. Tom climbed into the aircraft and found his seat. He did not look back at England. The C-47 lifted off the grass at 2230. 130 aircraft in formation. Tom could see nothing through the small round window. Only darkness and the running lights of the aircraft beside them. Nobody spoke. The engines were too loud anyway. Each man sat with his own thoughts. Tom thought about the map. He had memorized every road. Harris closed his eyes. He might have been sleeping. Tom didn't think he was sleeping. The jump master moved down the aisle, checking harnesses one more time. Over the channel, the aircraft began to buck. Flak from below. Not accurate yet. Tom gripped his rifle and watched the red light by the door. It had not changed. The English coast disappeared behind them. France was ahead somewhere in the dark. Tom thought about his father. His father had never left Massachusetts. The aircraft dropped suddenly and climbed again. Anti-aircraft fire. A hole appeared in the fuselage wall. Small. Nobody was hit. The flak intensified. The formation scattered to avoid it. Tom could feel it. Something was wrong. They were off course. The red light turned green. Stand up. Hook up. Get ready. Tom stood, hooked his static line, shuffled toward the door. The door was open. France below. Dark fields and darker hedgerows. He was not over the drop zone. He could tell even from the air. The man ahead of him jumped. Then the next. Then Tom was at the door. He jumped. The wind hit him like a wall. The chute opened with a crack. Below him, fields, a road. What might be a river? No landmark he recognized. He could hear firing somewhere to the east. Heavy, sustained. The ground came up fast. He pulled his risers. He hit hard, rolled. His rifle drove into his shoulder. He lay still for 30 seconds, listening. Nothing. No voices, no footsteps. Only wind in the hedgerows. He cut himself free of the chute and pulled it into the shadow of the hedge. He checked himself. Nothing broken. A cut on his chin. He hadn't felt it yet. He was alive. He was in France. He had no idea where. He crouched at the base of the hedgerow and listened for 10 minutes. No sound of other paratroopers. No cricket clicker signals. Nothing. He was alone. Somewhere in Normandy. With a rifle and what he carried. He started moving east. That was where the firing had come from. The hedgerows were taller than he expected. 6 feet of packed earth and root. They channeled movement. You couldn't see over them. You couldn't go through them. You had to find the gaps. The gates. The breaks where farm lanes crossed. Tom moved gap to gap. Stop. Listen. Move. This was bocage country. The briefings had mentioned it. Nothing in a briefing prepared you for it. He checked his compass. East was east. He kept moving. After 20 minutes, he found a road. Dirt. Narrow. Tractor ruts. He heard something. He dropped flat. German voices. 2 men. Moving along the road in the dark. He pressed into the ditch and did not breathe. They passed within 10 feet of him. He could smell their cigarettes. They moved on. Their voices faded. Tom waited 5 minutes after the last sound. Then he crossed the road and kept moving. The moon came out from behind clouds. Suddenly the fields were bright. He found cover in a drainage ditch and waited for the clouds to return. This was how it would be. Move in darkness. Wait in light. He had not found a single American. He had not heard a clicker answer. He was beginning to understand how badly the drop had scattered them. He kept moving. What else could he do? Around 0200, he heard something different. Movement in the hedgerow ahead. He raised his rifle and clicked his cricket. Silence. Then, one click back. American. They moved toward each other carefully. two shadows becoming shapes. It was Harris. Tom felt something loosen in his chest that he had not known was tight. Harris was bleeding from his left hand, a barbed wire cut on the landing. Tom wrapped it with a bandage from his kit. Neither of them spoke above a whisper. Harris had landed in an orchard, alone. He had been moving east for 2 hours. Between them, they had 2 rifles, 4 grenades, and a map that might or might not show where they were. Harris pointed to a road junction on the map. "I think we're here." Tom looked at the map and the stars above the hedgerow. "I think you're right." That put them 4 kilometers northwest of the bridge. 4 kilometers through occupied France in the dark. "Let's move," Tom said. Harris nodded. They moved. Working together was different. Tom watched ahead, Harris watched behind. They found 2 more paratroopers in the next hour. Private Cole, Private Watt. Neither of them was from Tom's company. It didn't matter. 4 men, moving southeast through the bocage, trying to find a bridge. They stopped at a farmhouse at 0300. The windows were dark. Harris knocked twice on the door. Nothing. He knocked again. The door opened 2 inches. An old man's face, eyes wide with fear. "Américain," Tom said, the only French he knew. The door opened all the way. The old man pulled them inside quickly. Inside, his wife, a young woman who might have been their daughter. They spoke no English. Tom's group spoke no French. But the old man had a map, a real map, French, more detailed than anything the army had given them. The old man traced a route with his finger, around the village, past the mill, to the bridge. Tom memorized it. Harris memorized it. They left after 15 minutes. They had not rested. They would not rest. Moving through the Norman night, Tom thought about what the briefing officer had said. The bridge must be taken before dawn, before the beach landings began. If the Germans could move armor across that bridge, the men coming off the beaches had no chance. Tom did not know the names of the men coming off the beaches. He didn't need to. He just needed to reach the bridge. The village was ahead. They could see the roof lines against the sky. Dark, quiet, occupied. They went around the edge of the village, single file, close to the stone wall. Tom could hear a radio somewhere. German voices, music. A window lit up ahead. They froze. A German soldier stood in the window, smoking, looking out at the dark street. They waited. He finished his cigarette. The light went out. They kept moving, breath held, footsteps soft on the cobblestones. Harris touched Tom's arm. A guard, 20 yards ahead, standing post at a corner. They pulled back into a doorway and considered. 1 guard. They could go around. It would cost them 10 minutes. They went around. It cost them 12 minutes. Past the village, the road opened up. Stone walls on either side, fields beyond. The mill the old man had marked was visible ahead, a dark shape against a darker sky. They passed the mill. The bridge would be beyond the next bend. Tom stopped the group. "Listen," he said. They listened. Water, the river, and something else. Voices, German voices, at the bridge. He signaled the group to go to ground. They spread out along the ditch. He crawled to the bend and looked. 2 guards on the bridge, a machine gun position on the near bank, more men somewhere in the dark. He could hear movement but not see it. He crawled back to Harris. 2 on the bridge, at least 1 gun position, more unknown. Harris looked at their 4 men. 4 against an unknown number in the dark. "Those are our odds," Tom said. Harris looked at the bridge, then back at Tom. "Those are our odds." They planned it in whispers. 10 minutes, no more. Cole and Watts would take the gun position from the right. Harris would take the bridge left guard. Tom would take the right guard. When the gun position opened fire, that was the signal. They moved into position. It took 15 minutes in the dark. Tom was close enough to the right guard to hear him breathing. He waited for Cole and Watt. The gun position erupted on the right. Tom moved. The bridge was taken in 40 seconds. It was not clean. Nothing in war was clean. Private Watts was hit in the shoulder. He was alive. Tom stood on the bridge and looked back the way they had come. The Norman fields, the dark hedgerows. Harris came to stand beside him. They held the bridge. Now they needed to hold it until morning. They dragged the machine gun to the far end of the bridge and set it up facing east. That was where any counterattack would come from. They waited. Tom watched the eastern road and listened to the night. At 0430, they heard engines, German vehicles, moving fast. Tom looked at Harris. Harris looked at Tom. They let the first vehicle get onto the bridge. Then they opened fire. The bridge held, the vehicles did not. There was a second approach, then a third. Each time, the bridge held. Tom reloaded and kept firing and did not think about anything except the road ahead. At 0600, the sky began to lighten in the east. Tom heard something. Coming from the northwest, from the direction of the sea, a sound he had never heard before. The sound of 5,000 ships. Then the bombers. Wave after wave of aircraft heading south over the coast. Then the naval guns began. The sound rolled across Normandy like continuous thunder. D-Day had begun. Harris sat down on the bridge railing and laughed. Tom had never heard him laugh like that. From the south they heard it. American voices. A patrol. coming up the road. The first soldiers of the beach assault were moving inland. They were young, soaking wet. Their faces still carried the beach in them. The lieutenant came across the bridge and looked at Tom's group of 4. "You took this bridge? With 4 men?" Tom looked at Harris. Harris looked at Watts with his arm in a sling. "We had help," Tom said. The lieutenant moved his men across the bridge. Then more men. Then vehicle. Tom stood at the side of the road and watched them come. This was what the bridge was for. This river of men moving inland. Harris stood beside him. Neither of them said anything. There was nothing to say that the morning didn't already say better. Tom was evacuated to a field hospital that afternoon. A fragment wound in his leg he hadn't noticed until the bridge was secure. He lay on a cot and listened to the guns continuing to the north. The battle was far from over. It had barely begun. Harris came to see him before the company moved out. 3 minutes, Harris said. "You did good, Callahan." Then he was gone. Tom lay on the cot and looked at the canvas ceiling of the tent. He thought about the night, about the hedgerows and the dark fields, about the old man who had opened his door, about the map he had traced with his finger, about Private Watts who had been hit and was going to be fine, about the bridge. 4 men and a machine gun and a road leading to the sea. He slept. When he woke, it was afternoon. France in June, warm. Through the open tent flap, he could see a field. Green, real green. Not the brown and gray of training camps, not the black of the Norman night. He had not noticed green in a long time. He was transferred to England 3 days later. His leg needed surgery. He spent 6 weeks in a hospital in Birmingham. Letters came from his father, short, careful. Proud in a way that didn't know how to say itself. Tom wrote back every week. He told his father about France without telling him about France. Harris wrote once, 2 sentences, "Still alive, still moving." That was enough. Tom returned to the 101st in August, rejoined his company in France. The war went on, through France, through Holland, through the winter in Belgium. The Battle of the Bulge. Bastogne, a town surrounded by Germans in the snow. Tom was there, so was Harris. They came out of it. In April 1945, they crossed into Germany. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. Tom was in Bavaria when it happened. He sat down on a church step and did nothing for 1 hour. He was discharged in September 1945. He flew home to Boston. His father met him at the airport. The man looked smaller than Tom remembered, or maybe Tom was larger, he couldn't tell. They drove home through South Boston. Tom recognized everything. Nothing felt the same. That was normal, the Army doctor had told him. Give it time. Tom gave it time. He enrolled at Boston College on the GI Bill, business administration. He married a woman named Catherine in 1948, a nurse he had met in Birmingham. Catherine had seen what the war did to men. She understood things that didn't need explaining. Tom worked in his father's hardware business for 30 years. He coached Little League on Saturday mornings. His kids thought he was strict but fair. Harris moved to Chicago. They stayed in touch. Letters, then phone calls, then visits. Harris came to Boston once with his wife. They stayed a weekend. On Saturday night after dinner, Tom and Harris sat on the back porch. Their wives went inside and left them to it. They talked about everything. About the night, about the bridge, about what it had meant. Harris said, "You know what I think about most?" Tom said, "What?" Harris said, "That old man who opened the door." Tom said, "Me too." Harris died in 1991. A stroke. He was 69 years old. Tom flew to Chicago for the funeral. He was one of the pallbearers. He stood at the grave and thought about a dark field in Normandy and a single cricket click coming back. One click back. American. After the funeral, Tom walked alone by the lake for a long time. He was 70 years old. He had outlived many people he had loved. He did not understand why he had survived Normandy when others had not. He had stopped trying to understand it. What he knew was this. He had been given more time. He had used it. That was all a man could do. Use the time. Use it well.